My name is Muawiyyah. I graduated from the Islamic University of Medina in 2008. I graduated from the Faculty of Sharia, Islamic Law, Usul al-Fiqh, which basically refers to the base principle whereby which we derive Islamic rulings. And I did touch upon Iqtisad Islami or Islamic economics, which I later on expanded on when I graduated here. And then that's where the rabbit hole or the entrance to that rabbit hole began.
You're gonna waver. Your iman is gonna go up and down based on your emotions, but that has nothing to do with the reality, right? You could feel that way about your marriage, about your job, about your friends, about your coworkers, about your entire life, and about your entire existence. That doesn't mean you don't exist. That doesn't mean your coworkers are bad. That doesn't mean your wife is like sneaking off at night. A'udhu billah. These are just emotional, skeptical moments, and there's something that you really don't have to pay much attention to because most likely it's shaitan behind all of it. So seek refuge in Allah, increase in Quran, and may Allah allow us to have strong iman. Ameen.
Symbol at the back, mashallah, he's reached the limit, yeah?
Yeah, mashallah.
Mashallah.
Alright, let's get going. Bismillah.
Hi, Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the realest podcast in the dunya with the three Muslims. We are joined here. We got Crypto Hash Review in the building. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Kayf halukum?
Alhamdulillah. So real quick for our viewers that might not be familiar with your wonderful work, can you give a quick summary about, your relationship with the deen, crypto, just anything they want to hear before we go right in?
Okay, bismillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma alimna ma yanfa'na wa anfa'na bima 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. So, my name is Muawiyyah. I graduated from the Islamic University of Medina in 2008. I returned to the UK to pursue educating Muslims on Islam and Arabic. And I did so since 2009 until now, to today. And essentially, when I was studying in Medina Uni, I graduated from the Faculty of Sharia, Islamic Law. And from the things that I like to say I'm specialized in was Usul al-Fiqh, which basically refers to the base principle whereby which we derive Islamic rulings. And I did touch upon Iqtisad Islami or Islamic economics, which I later on expanded on when I graduated here as self-study, nothing formal. And then later on, I guess say 2017, I got involved in cryptocurrencies, mainly as a means to just accept payment on my website. It wasn't anything fantastic or any kind of speculative maneuver. It was just literally I wanted to expand the revenue stream or avenues for people to pay me for my services. And then that's where the rabbit hole or the entrance to that rabbit hole began, 2017. And I've been in that space since then, learning about it, even programming, even just now, actually, I was just doing some more programming. We've got something coming up soon, inshallah. That's it, really.
Mashallah.
Alhamdulillah.
That's great. Alhamdulillah.
I know Brother Gabriel has a ton of questions.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, sallallahu. First of all, I think this podcast is very important for this reason. And that is, according to what I see, I've been Muslim now for 18 years, coming from the background of, hustling, push and shove. You see that sometimes a lot of Muslims do not want to push, or they feel that there's a contradiction between investing and being successful in dunya and being a practicing Muslim. Sheikh Muawiyyah, do you find that that's one of the hesitations of Muslims when it comes to kind of dwelling or entertaining new avenues of investment in this world? What do you see?
Yeah, so generally speaking, I do find that it's been a while now that the da'wah has been focused on the seeking of knowledge, the talab al-ilm, which is great, nothing wrong with that. And it's kind of, even when I first became Muslim, I think it was in the 1990s, it was there wasn't really any emphasis on the rizq or the attainment of the rizq. If anything, it was seen as a distraction. You get a job, then you lose that whole talab al-ilm, which is generally the case anyway in Western lands. There's not much barakah in our time over here, unfortunately. So it was always a case of, if you're going to be doing work or going to have a business, you're not going to be a student of knowledge. If you're going to be a student of knowledge, you're not going to get involved in finance or income, generate income. And there is some truth to that, like I said, in terms of just being the nature of our lives, 9 to 5. There's not much barakah in our time. I mean, what I found in Medina is that you could study and you'd have a large portion of your day to do something else. You could do something else. And definitely in Medina, there was a lot of barakah in that time. But unfortunately, the rat race catches up with all of us. And people often find that they don't find that there's a balance. That's in practical terms. There's not a balance. But in terms of ideological terms, again, some people think it's almost dirty to talk about making money. I even had some brothers, almost say that they don't want to take extra money. I mean, they actually said, I had opportunity to take, let's say like £10,000 profit, but they said, I'm just happy with one. I'm like, brother, just take the 10, man. Take the 10. Why you say we're happy with one? Take the 10. So, I'm saying it's that people think that being nice and being a good Muslim and being a fair trade means you must make profit. All these kind of things. It's just weird. It's wrong. Anyway, the point is, not only what it is. I think if you look at it, not only have Muslims lost their way when it comes to our aqidah and our suluk, in terms of our mannerisms and our behavior of our husbands and our wives and our children, we've also lost our way by even our trade and our tijara. And there's no reason why we should think otherwise. There's no way you can think of realistically that, we've got a lot of work to do for the da'wah of the Muslims, bring them back to the deen. But in terms of our tijara, we're cool. Why would you assume that? If we're broken in that which is even greater, which is our knowledge and of Allah and His religion, then why wouldn't we equally as broken, if not more, in our other avenues of deen, of dunya? Sorry.
MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. Okay, quick question before maybe Fayad and Andrew has. But Shaykh, what's your favorite Sahabi or Tabi'i in terms of business skills? MashaAllah.
I mean, in terms of business skills, I haven't really thought about a Sahabi in that regard. Usually you think of them in religious terms. Generally speaking, when it comes to business, I've always admired Ibn Umar's suluk, or his behavior, as being very direct. There's a hadith in Rasulullah when it says, Al-bay'ani bil-khiyar ma lam tafarraqa. So two people who are doing transactions with each other have the option to nullify the contract and undo the contract as long as they're not part company. So based on that hadith, whenever he did business, immediately once he concluded, he got up and left, just so he made sure that it was clear that the business transaction is finished. And what I loved about that is it demonstrates how closely woven his rizq was with his deen. It wasn't just I'm Muslim in the masjid or I'm Muslim on Eid, but I'm Muslim in everything I do, even business. And it was like an open demonstration. I'm going to conclude business, assalamu alaikum, and got up and left. So I guess in that regard, like I said, I've never really thought of the Sahabi in that regard, but yeah, that is something that always comes to mind when it comes to being a businessman.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah. That's a phenomenal intro. I'd say we go right into centralized, decentralized finance.
Go for it.
All right. Bismillah. Take the lead.
What's your question? Right.
Just general difference between centralized and decentralized. A lot of viewers might not be familiar with these terms.
Okay. So in terms of, I mean, just to go back a step before the whole central and decentral, finance. I think people need to understand what does that even mean. Now, the problem we have as Muslims, especially in this day and age, is that we essentially have come into a space that wasn't ours. Now, obviously, we have detailed rules and regulations about how to conduct business in Islam, but needless to say, we haven't really been focusing on that as an ummah for a long while now. So when it came down to other nations and other ummah who have definitely excelled at making money, we are now coming into their space and we are trying to keep up with what they are doing. So what Muslims have done or are attempting to do is to compete in the way that they do business. And part of the way that they do business is through financing, i.e. using other people's money. Hence we have now this concept of Islamic financing, i.e. Islamically the way to do business with other people's money. That's how I like to look at it. And if you want to go back and look at Islam and in terms of business, we need to go back to our principles and build our foundation on our principles, not on their principles. So when it comes to the issue of finance itself, people say to me, "Oh, brother, what's your view on Islamic finance?" I find it a bit of a troublesome question because to me, it almost seems as though, how can I do what they do Islamically? Does that make sense? It's like, how can I copy them, but in a halal way? Rather than how should I do things Islamically speaking? Does it make sense as a difference?
We Islamicize things.
Yeah. Rather than seeing, okay, what is the way in which we do business as Muslims?
Organic Islamic.
So one of the things that we need to focus on as Muslims, or one of the principles of trade and business as Muslim, not just business and trade, but as a Muslim living life, is to live within our means. That is one of the biggest challenges Muslims have today. How do you conduct your business and even earn money using the resources that Allah has given you, as opposed to having nothing and then living on debt? So I'll give one example. You guys know Donald Trump, innit? You must know Donald Trump. So Mr. Trump, his son was talking about one of the things that his father mentioned to him. And he said that they were going to the Trump Towers once, and there was someone who was homeless outside the Trump Towers, and his dad turned to him and said to him, "You know, that guy has more than me because he has nothing, and I have less than that." What he meant by that is, although he has Trump Towers and he has all this, investment, all of that actually is debt. It's not. Don't think that he runs his own business because of the liquid cash he has. He has gone out to banks and got loans. This is the foundation of business across the board. They don't function on capital for the most part. They function on leverage. Why use the money I have in a bank account when I can use someone else's money? I mean, I've heard that so many so often. Why use your own money when you can use someone else's money? And this is one of the things that we need to find a way out of that mindset. So when it comes to the issue of decentralized finance versus centralized finance, what does finance even mean? I mean, I'll ask you guys. There's three guys here. What does finance mean to you?
I don't think I have like a proper definition for it. Like if you tell me finances, I just think money.
Same.
Yeah. So
I think money management.
Money management, excellent. So one of the ways in which, for example, and unfortunately, the whole system is built around leverage. How do you live with the bank interwoven into your business model? The idea, I mean, even companies as big as Apple has on their balance sheet billions of dollars on their balance sheet. yet they still have loans and take out loans. I mean, when I first heard that, I was like, but why would it? I don't get it. Why would you do that? But because there's tax purposes why they do so. They benefit through taxes, so they can offset their profits with their money that they borrowed, and there's all sorts of madness. The point is, the whole system is configured to use riba, to have riba at the core of everything we do. And as Muslims, we need to now find avenues and ways to engage in business without the need for riba. And that is actually why I'm a big proponent of Bitcoin. Because in my perspective, I see it as an avenue to exist outside of that system. As long as my money's in the bank, I'm still within their system. Even if I don't take a loan, I'm still within their system. If I have my money in Bitcoin, for example, or run my business on Bitcoin, I can conduct my business without ever touching their leverage or touching their system. That's just one aspect of it. But that's just first thing. So in terms of answering your question again about the issue of decentralized or centralized finance, generally speaking, both of them have issues, Islamically speaking, both of them. And for those who are not aware, centralized, anything to do with centralized basically means organized by a centralized authority. So for example, Hay'at Kibar Ulama, the body of major scholars, like in Saudi Arabia, that's a centralized system. Right. As in, we know who's in charge, we know who issues Fatawa, it's centralized. Whereas the ulama of the dunya, they are decentralized, as in fiqh as a whole is decentralized. There is no one person who's in charge of fiqh. Islam is decentralized. There's no one person in charge of al-Islam. Does that make sense? So this is an example of something which is decentralized, as is not, there's no centralized, there's no single collection of people or one body that monitors and regulates that thing, as opposed to something which is open to all. Now, if you look at Islam at the core, Islam is decentralized. As in, think about it. The Quran, it came down to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The first thing he did was to decentralize this Quran, spread it to as many people as possible, so that even if half the Sahaba was to die, it's still there. Same thing with the Ahadith. The Ahadith spread throughout the dunya. The knowledge spread throughout the dunya to such a point that the destruction of knowledge becomes almost impossible. We have no single example of a piece of a part of history that is so well documented as that time in human history, because Islam was decentralized. It wasn't like, oh, Abu Bakr, you're in charge of the Quran, and Umar, you're in charge of Sahih Hadith, and it wasn't like that. Everyone did their part to spread the knowledge that they had and to convey the knowledge they had in a manner which was decentralized. And I guess one example today, or kind of like, well, that's not a really good example. So ignore that. So yeah, that's I guess my answer to your question. It wasn't exactly answering your question directly, but in terms of finance, what they normally would refer to as centralized finance, I go to the bank, and the bank would finance my project. You give me money to fund my projects. Decentralized basically means I can go to a protocol instead and do the same thing.
Go to what?
A protocol. Protocol basically means like a set of rules and paradigms and programs that you can use and interact with. Not a person, it's a set of rules. By the way, guys, let me just push these lights back because I think my clothes is blowing up a bit.
Inshallah. Brother Gabriel, you got a cat behind you?
Yeah, I've got some lights. I've got some lights behind me here.
I got a cat, you said?
You got a cat?
I think my cat was going somewhere, yeah, probably. Yeah. It's going all over. It's breaking stuff and whatnot. It gets upset. And I'm not paying attention.
Mashallah.
There you go. Okay, so let me...
Yeah, I have a quick question for Sheikh Muawiyyah. You mentioned very briefly, that they both have their cons, right? Centralized and decentralized. So do you want to quickly go over the pros and cons of each?
So, I mean, when it comes to centralized, decentralized finance or finance as a whole, generally speaking, in the crypto space or non-crypto space, that basically means how can you, in a nutshell, not always, there are some avenues is within the banner of DeFi, they call it, but it's not what this is. Essentially, how do you gain income? So one way is how can you gain a loan on your crypto? You can put up some collateral and you get some extra money to spend. So there's one way of actually how you can get a loan and therefore you pay interest. And the other element is whereby you can have capital. You don't want a loan, but you want to increase the income on your capital. So I've got Bitcoin sitting there doing nothing. Well, it's not doing nothing. It's just doing what Bitcoin does, secures your wealth. But I want to now increase that Bitcoin. So that therefore, rather than being 1, now I have 1.1 and 1.2 and so on and so forth. So DeFi, some parts of DeFi basically would mean that you provide collateral, you provide money to the protocol, to the system. That system now would take your capital and lend it out to others. And then when they want to pay their money back, you get a portion or cut of the money earned. Now, how does it function? How do you lend out money on a decentralized manner? What they normally do is through over-collateralization. In a bank, they know where you live and you have legal documentation that you sign to make sure that if you don't pay it back, you can get it money back from you some other way. On the internet, you don't have such a thing. I mean, you can get a loan and you can be anonymous. So how do they make sure you're going to pay your money back? So again, this is to do with over-collateralization. So what that means is I have 1 Bitcoin, but I don't want to sell my Bitcoin. I want to keep my Bitcoin. So I will deposit the Bitcoin into a protocol and they will give me fiat. They will give me dollars. But the amount of dollars that they will give me is actually less than the value of the Bitcoin. So Bitcoin right now is at $31,000 USD. So if I was to deposit 1 Bitcoin into the exchange, I could probably take out $10,000 as a collateral on as a withdrawal of my Bitcoin. So I still have 1 Bitcoin, but it's locked in their contract. They're going to give me $10,000. Now I have to pay back $10,000 to get back my $32,000. So the question I guess some may be asking is, why would you even do that? Why don't you just sell $10,000 worth of Bitcoin and rather than go through this whole issue of loans and whatnot? Taxes, like I said to you, the system is built around their corruption. So if you were to sell your Bitcoin, that essentially is a taxable event. That means you have to pay taxes on any gains you've made, whatever you want to call that, gains you made on your Bitcoin, and therefore it would cost you more. So you could, in theory, lock up 10 Bitcoin. That's $300,000. And you can take out $200,000, spend it on whatever you want to spend it on, pay it back over time, and still have your Bitcoin and pay 0 tax. That's basically the reason why you would go on this whole, as they say in Saudi, scratching your left ear with your right hand from behind your back. Is this whole rigmarole.
So is that halal, Shaykh?
No. So any form of, it's basically riba. Because the thing is, even if you were to get that loan, that £10,000, when you pay it back, you pay back more. You pay back more than £10,000 because that's where the riba comes into it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it would be halal if someone lent you $10,000 dollars, and you used your 1 Bitcoin as it was called in Arabic, al-rahan, was a guarantee. And then when you pay back the £10,000, you pay it back as it was, £10,000, not extra. Then that's perfectly halal. There's nothing wrong with that. The only issue is that they've added onto it. They've added onto it. So due to that reason, it is haram. Now, if you live in El Salvador, then you can just spend your Bitcoin, because El Salvador Bitcoin is now money over there. It's now legal tender. So therefore, there's no taxable event on spending your Bitcoin in El Salvador. So maybe one day, inshallah, maybe even soon, you never know, if Bitcoin gets accepted as currency and not an asset, then there's no need for this whole collateralization with your Bitcoin. You can just spend it as money, which may, and we hope so, inshallah, may be the ironic byproduct of what El Salvador did. Because if once El Salvador finally finalized, I mean, they have finalized the law, it is now legal law, but they're going through the process of integrating into their economy or not. But once they finish that process, then other countries may be forced to recognize Bitcoin as currency. Because they can't just reject their currency, say it's not currency. I mean, the whole Forex industry is about trading foreign exchanges, foreign currencies. So if El Salvador has Bitcoin as legally their currency, then Bitcoin would essentially be, legally speaking, a foreign currency. But I think governments want to resist that because obviously they want their pound of flesh. They want to tax you at the end of the day. That's what they want to do. So we'll see how it plays out. We got this year. It's very new news. And there are other countries that are announcing they're going to do the same as El Salvador. So if at least 2, 3, or 4 countries do exactly the same, then I think it'd be very difficult for other countries to say, no, it's not currency, it's an asset, when, multiple countries are taking it as their currency. It'd be really weird. But it is what it is.
Okay. Shaykh, I have a very important question here, with just because you got into that collateral and all that. But is it like halal haram for one to use basically what's called staking features available in cryptocurrencies? Like, for example, like I think there's, some people don't know that there's other crypto other than Bitcoin. But for example, like Cardano, you can have like holders stake their tokens, which makes you like a node to help transactions on the network. So basically you get rewarded in tokens on a percentage basis. Is that accepted? Is that halal? I think it's called staking.
Yeah. So basically, for those who probably are new to all of this, Bitcoin is a decentralized monetary network. It's a network whereby people can transact value, they can exchange value in a manner that doesn't require any authority to manage it or to make it happen. The only thing that regulates and makes sure that things function is mathematics. The whole system of Bitcoin works on mathematical principles as is programmed inside the source code of Bitcoin. Now, people think of Bitcoin as being nothing, as in, what is it? Just numbers, as they say, just numbers. But what they don't realize is how these numbers came to existence. And it's a bit weird. I mean, what do you mean how these numbers come to existence? I mean, even numbers itself is very abstract. I mean, has anyone here held one? Or
$1?
No, just the one.
Just the number one. No.
Oh, nah. I don't think anyone has.
Yeah, because it's abstract. It's an idea. It's not a thing. There is one of things, but the actual number one is abstract. It's an idea. Even in mathematics, there's actually a debate if going back as far as Aristotle and Plato and all that, whether numbers actually exist. And it's you think these questions, we don't even ask that kind of thing. But yeah, they say, do numbers even exist? But yeah, anyway, so if Bitcoin is not physical, and now I say 1, 2, 3, 4, a million, 2 million Bitcoin, what are they? Well, Bitcoin, I would say easily, is the first time in the history of mankind. I think it's safe to say the first time in the history of mankind we've actually had scarcity in something that is not tangible, is not physical. Let me explain to you. So here is AirPods, Apple AirPods, and I have this. You don't have it. Now, if I was to give it to you, I no longer have it. So scarcity exists in the physics. I mean, if this occupies space, and if I move in one space to another space, it's now somewhere else. So that's kind of the reason why we've had money in the first place, is to materialize the idea of value. Because value, again, is like numbers. You can't grab a value. We can perceive value. We can perceive value, but you can't grab it. But if I manifest that value in a thing, now you can grab it. So the way Bitcoin works is that in order to get these numbers, you actually have to do physical work. You have to do something. I mean, you can even ride a bike. You can even get a bike and ride a bike, have the wheels turn a turbine and generate electricity and use that electricity to mine Bitcoin. And then if you was to mine Bitcoin, essentially that physical exercise you was doing to mine Bitcoin has now become a Bitcoin. Now, I've just said that Bitcoin comes from physical activity. How do you prove that? Prove that, brother. Prove it. Because you can't get Bitcoin without it. As you've intrinsically woven the physical actions of the dunya into this number. Yeah. And that was reality why gold and silver and other forms of money in the past existed, because they were physical manifestations of work. You had to go to a mountain, you had to mine the gold or silver, smelt it, separate it, clean it, fashion it. All that takes work, and that is the value contained within that gold. That's how you value it. So you've manifested work into a physical thing of gold. Likewise, you can manifest work into Bitcoin. But it's the first time you've ever done that on something that you can't grab, on knowledge. Bitcoin is knowledge. It's actually knowledge. It's information, but it's scarce information. All information before Bitcoin wasn't scarce. You can copy and paste it a million times. There's no scarcity in it. But Bitcoin was the first time to do that. But then, so that's the origin of Bitcoin, work. So next time someone says to you, "Oh, Bitcoin is nothing," say, "No. It isn't nothing. It's something." As for staking, that is something else. That's actually very circular in what it is. So look, someone mentioned Cardano, for example. Okay, how do you get Cardano? So let's do a thought experiment. We are now going to launch the Cardano network from scratch. Yeah, it doesn't exist. The whole network doesn't exist. We've got the code. Now we're going to launch the network. طيب. How do we mine coins on Cardano? Through staking. Great. What are we going to stake? ADA, which is the name or ticker or ADA of Cardano coin. Okay, great. But how do I get these ADA if I don't mine yet? You see how circular it is. I can't actually mine ADA. I can't mine ADA unless I stake it, and I can't stake it unless I mine it. You see how circular it is? Its existence depends on itself.
Okay.
So it's like saying my dad is my son. You see, it's circular, because my son can only come from me, and I can only come from my dad, but my dad can only come from me. It's circular. So at some stage, you're going to have to print ADA out of nothing.
You're making this sound like the Trinity.
It's like, wow.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that, because I have used that argument with Christians in the past. When they say to me that, why can't God have a son? I said, you know what? If God had a son, that would mean that his son is another copy of himself. As in, all children are the same as their parent. I mean, a dog doesn't give birth to a cat. A dog gives birth to another dog. So if Allah had a son, that would mean his son would be like himself. Yeah, that's fair enough. We can agree on that. But inherently in that son had a beginning. As in, there was a moment when it didn't exist, and now it exists. So if the father's like the son, and son's like the father, that means both son and father are created. Because, you know what I'm saying? If the son had a beginning, and the father is the same as the son, that means the father has to have a son. And that's why inherently, something that is not created can't have children. or offspring, because that would necessitate that it's also created. It's circular. I mean, we're going a bit off tangent, but that's essentially if ADA, in order to stake ADA, you have to print ADA out of thin air. So therefore, what's the value of ADA? I can tell you the value of Bitcoin is just the work I put into it. It's a lot of work. I've got mining rigs, I've got burning electricity, I've got to do something. What's the value of ADA? I just printed it. So essentially, ADA, at the core of ADA, is the same as fiat, the same as dollars and pounds. Someone decided to just print off a certain amount. And this is where you have another problem, an ethical problem, maybe even an Islamic problem. There was one guy actually tried to make an argument against Bitcoin. And he said at a point, he said, governments should print money fairly, and it shouldn't be created by miners. There was some argument like that. The problem with printing money is that as soon as you print it, who owns it? Listen carefully. The moment someone prints money, who owns that money? Government. Because whoever gets that money first, the question is, why did they get that money? Why would it be fair that someone gets to print money and others don't get to print money? You see, inherently in a system is dhulm. I can just print money because I want to, because what? I can become rich at the expense of you, which is in contrast to Bitcoin. Even Satoshi himself, when he launched the Bitcoin network, he didn't issue himself Bitcoin. He mined like anyone else. So the same amount of work that he put into getting Bitcoins he had, which is, by the way, he's never used, is the same amount of work others put into it. Does it make sense? So that is in essence a fair system. Everyone who gets it or who mines it deserves it because they put the effort, they put the work into it, and they got it. So back to the issue of staking. So in ADA, the big contrast between staking systems and Bitcoin type systems, which is called proof of work. So here's the two words I want to teach the new guys who are watching. So we have something called proof of work. What's the proof you have? Mahu dalil. What's the dalil? What's the proof you have that you deserve that thing? What's your proof? What's your dalil? You've got gold. You've got silver. Prove you deserve it. Hold on. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah.
Sorry, someone called me. I don't know why. Let me put my thing on do not disturb mode. Yeah. So prove that you deserve that thing. The proof is that I went to the mountain. I mined gold out of the mountain. I worked hard day in, day out. Now I've got that's my proof of my ownership. I've earned it. That's the proof of my wages. And this is at the core of everything in Islam. Think about it. Name me a transaction in Islam that is halal, except that at some point there is proof of work. As in even wages. When you get paid wages from your employee, what's your proof? I came in 9 to 5, I did the work, I deserve the work. You know, anything, even if you look at the contrast, look at the transactions that are haram even. Look at the transactions that are haram. You can almost see almost at the core of it that you haven't proven that you earned it. And
like riba.
Like riba. You didn't do anything, but you've guaranteed income. How? Why? Why did you deserve that? What? Because you are rich. So you can see here that we see in Islam we have a contrast. Those who earn money because of status, or those who earn money because of work. So when it comes to Bitcoin, when you earn Bitcoin through mining, you work for it and you earn it. Or you go out and get a job and then you go and get paid in Bitcoin, so you've earned it. With staking, on the other hand, just because you're rich, you get more money. So you can see how ethically, from an Islamic perspective, they're very different. And we can't compare.
Halal.
No, I didn't say that. I'm saying ethically, one is based on Islamic foundational principles, and the other one is very similar to, what do you reckon?
Printing money.
I'm actually printing money, but what else? You got money, and because you have money, now you're gonna get more money. What does that sound like to you?
Dhulm, riba.
Riba, it sounds like riba. I mean, it isn't riba. I'll explain why it isn't. But fundamentally, in principle, it seems though just because you get money, you get more money. And those who have more money will essentially get more money. So we see that in riba, those who have large amounts of money, if you allow riba in a society, money trickles up towards them. Because the more money they have, the more money they can make, and it trickles upwards. In Islam, it doesn't. Money trickles downwards through zakah. Those who have lots of money, it's almost like you have a hole in your bucket of 2.5%. Every person who has money, they have a hole in a bucket of 2.5% every year. It trickles outwards down to the people at the bottom. So money comes downwards, whereas in riba it goes upwards. So in principle, and like I said, this is just my ethical argument from an Islam perspective. In principle, staking resembles riba. But why is it not riba? Okay, riba requires a loan. And in this case here, there is no loan. No one is taking money and no one has to pay you back money on interest. The way it works is that you lock your fees, your money into a contract, and the amount of money you have in that contract determines how many transactions you can validate. Because remember, all these systems is a monetary system. People make transactions all the time. Who regulates and signs off on these transactions? It's the network that does it. Who's the next person in line to validate the next block? In Bitcoin, it's down to work. Whoever finds the special number, the nonce, they have earned the right to sign a transaction and to earn Bitcoin. Whereas in staking, it's based on the amount of money you've staked in the network. So the more money you stake, the more likely you are to get the right to sign a transaction. So there is, in that respect, some element of work where you are signing transactions. So I'm not going to say it's totally devoid of any work. It's just that the basis of that is the amount of money you have. So that's, in a nutshell, what proof of stake is, which is what AIDA does, compared to proof of work, which is what Bitcoin does. Bitcoin's, your proof you earn something is the work you did in it, mathematical work and effort you've done into it. Whereas in AIDA, it's based on how much money you staked. So is it halal? Yes, it is. The only issue I would say then is that why would you want to stake and earn money through in an inferior currency rather than a superior one? If I was to give you a choice to say which currency is more fair in terms of existence, what is more in line with Islamic ethics, I'm sure you guys would agree with me that Bitcoin is more in line with what Islam dictates as what is good earnings and tayyib earnings, as opposed to that one. I'm not saying the one is the aid is haram, I'm just saying that one is better. But as for the staking, that's what it is. So one last point though, I do go on a bit. Let's ask ourselves, why do our people showing an interest in AIDA and staking, and you'll find the same amount of interest for mining? Have you ever asked that question? Why are people not interested in mining Bitcoin, but are interested in staking AIDA? Lots of people. It's the same reason why the rich are happy to give you a loan. I'm not happy to go out and work. It's the same. It's the same principle. It's none different. It's the exact same thing. One, you earn money by just having money, and the other, you have to actually do something. And again, if I want to be a Bitcoin miner, actually, someone just asked me this yesterday, actually, who wants to mine Bitcoin. And I explained to him, first thing you have to go and get and buy a mining rig. So yeah, that already means you were talking about capital investment already. We haven't even started that. We were talking about capital investment. Then you've got to pay for internet access, which isn't much, but you got to have internet access. Then you've got to have electricity. You've got to pay for electricity. And then we did the maths and worked out that if you buy an S17 Ant miner, which is like a mining rig, which costs about, I think, $7,000, it will take you about a year to make back your money on your investment. And then after that year, all the money you're making is profit, obviously, because you paid for your initial capital. So you can see here already, it's very much in line with actual tijara. Go out, make effort, do the hard graft, and inshallah, Allah will give you the rizq al-tayyib. Whereas ADA, just go to Coinbase, go to Binance, buy some ADA, transfer it to another contract, stake it, and then there you go. Khalas. I've made money. You see the difference? The difference is, ethically speaking, one is through work and the other one is not through work necessarily. So that's two things. But it's not riba, by the way. It's just riba. There are ways to do riba in crypto, but that's not one way to do it. So that's proof of stake as relates to the protocol. So that's your Ethereum at some point when it does move to proof of stake. At the moment, Ethereum is proof of work. So Ethereum is a funny one because Ethereum used to be proof of work, where you actually have to do work. And now it's moving to proof of stake. So even the Ethereum that exists right now came through work. And now they're going to transition those coins that actually work from work into this whole staking thing. But ironically, although Ethereum is proof of work, it also had what's called a pre-mine. A pre-mine basically means the coins that the developers or the founders issue themselves before they even launch the network. That's called a pre-mine. And it's another one of those red flags of what is a scammy kind of system coin that basically enriches those who made it, or a fair coin that wants to launch a network free to everyone to use. Bitcoin had no pre-mine. Anyone who has Bitcoin earned it. Whereas Ethereum, and this one might shock you guys, 60% of all Ethereum coins that exist right now came from that pre-mine. Did you guys know that one?
No.
So Vitalik Buterin and the other developers, they have to this day the majority of all Ethereum that exists. So essentially, if we use Ethereum and it becomes a system that is preferred and it gets increased in value, who's really becoming benefited from that? Me and you, or them?
Them, yeah.
So anyway, so those coins are proof of stake. So Ethereum is one of them. ADA is another one. Trezor, I think, is another one. Polkadot is another one. These are all protocols that exist on proof of stake. Then you have those that are proof of work, like Bitcoin and Litecoin and some other coins like that. But then you have staking, which is not like this. Because the word staking is a very big term. Some of that term refers to what I just spent a whole half an hour explaining to you. Another type of staking refers to literally a loan. It is literally almost like a loan. So, for example, have you guys heard of a system called crypto.com? So they have like a debit card. You can put money on it and you can spend it, but it's like a crypto debit card. So with them, you can stake money on their network and earn money on your stake. But that is 100% riba. Because with that stake that you're giving them, they're using that to go and give loans to other people. And when they earn interest on loans, they give you a proportion of that loan. But the thing is, they call it staking as well. You see what staking is a bit of a it's a weird one because it refers to so many.
It's an overarching term,
yeah. And one last example of staking, which sometimes people use as staking, it's not really staking, but it is kind of staking. And that is providing liquidity to systems to perform a certain task. So have you guys heard of something called an automatic market maker? No. Okay. So if I want to go, if I have Ethereum and I want to exchange that Ethereum for, let's just say Mana, which is from Decentralized. So I have Ethereum. I want to sell the Ethereum and get back Mana. I can just go to Binance, deposit my Ethereum on Binance, go and press sell and then buy and whatever and get my Mana, and then I can withdraw my Mana. That's through a centralized system, meaning that someone owns a system, i.e. CZ for Binance, whatnot. But there's something called a decentralized exchange, or DEX. And essentially what it is that it's not, no one owns the system. It's just a contract on Ethereum. And the contract itself does the swap. So you send your money to the contract, and the contract gives you back mana. So it's not a person. No one owns it. It's just a contract in the network. You can launch a contract, and anyone can just use the contract. I can't control you. I can't stop you. You could be a criminal. You could be anyone. You can use it. I can't stop you. Now, if I send Ethereum to that contract, where does the mana come from? It comes from people like me and you who want to earn some money on our Ethereum and our mana. We provide liquidity. So we deposit our Ethereum and our mana, both equal share, into the contract, and we leave it in there. Me and thousands of other people do it. Now, if you want to go on and sell your Ethereum and get back mana, that contract will just absorb your Ethereum and give you some of that mana and take a small fee. That small fee, some of it will go to you because you provide the liquidity. So that essentially is, if you want to draw a parallel, it's almost like a currency exchange. You know, when you're outside, you go to Haram, Mecca, go outside, you see those guys, you give them your pounds and you get reals.
Right.
Yeah. So imagine you went to them one day and said, look, I want to make some money. Here's a bag of money, different currencies. You can use it to do your tijara. Just give me a cut of the sarf, a cut of the exchange. So that's providing liquidity. Some may call it staking. It isn't really staking, but some may call it staking. But it looks like staking in the sense that you're giving money to someone, and you still have your money, but you're getting back profit as a result. The only difference in this case is, imagine I gave 10 Ethereum and 10 mana. When I take my money out, I might get 11 Ethereum and 9 mana. Because the value of mana and Ethereum differs. And your stake will always have to be equal in value. So if the value of mana goes up, you have to rebalance your stake. It makes sense. So you might end up losing more or less. So it's the same thing, same kind of thing in terms of thing. So that is halal. That is fully halal. Because that's basically like musharaka. You're doing business with them. You're doing business with the contracts. And one of the reasons why that is halal is because you could also lose money. Because remember, you're providing value, and that value changes. Mana goes up, Ethereum goes down, and you're getting back a certain different amount. So there is risk of loss in that transaction, like all business, and that's essentially what makes it what it is. That was a very, 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 very long answer. I know. I'm sorry, Les.
Mashallah. That was good.
I know the next one is definitely, it deserves its own episode, but for the sake of time, just for a brief introduction, what are markets? So what are, bull markets, bear markets? How do those work? What are we currently in? Because a lot of people invested in Bitcoin with the hype. Now it's not doing, so well. And they're like, what happened to my money?
Yeah, so this is why I'm always telling people, and I think especially for you guys, when you speak to the shabab, the youth, when you speak to the youth, you should tell them that Bitcoin shouldn't be treated like an asset to be traded. So let me give you a scenario, yeah? You're living in Bangladesh, and you have Bangladeshi dakas. Now, the currency of Bangladesh isn't that great, and the value of it might go up, might go down. You might go down a lot. Like what happened in Lebanon. Lebanon, they lost more than 50% in a day. They're just gone of its purchasing power. So some countries have some, it's not great. So what some people may do, especially the rich, those who have money, what they will do is they'll keep their money in dollars. Now, they won't say, I'm trading dollars. They'll just keep the money in dollars because it's more stable, it's more what they want, and they trust it more. Okay. Likewise, so now we come to the issue of our current money. We have fiat, whether it be dollars, pounds, or ringgits. Ringgits for those in Malaysia. So you have those of us who have our fiat. You have a choice. You can keep your wealth in a currency that we all know with surety and no ambiguity that it's losing value every year. Every single year, it's losing value. And especially now with COVID, the amount of value it's going to be losing is probably going to grow even more than it was before. We already know this. So where would you park your capital to keep it safe? Would you just leave it in the fiat and say, I'll go down with the ship? Or are you going to jump ship and put your money into something which is better than what it is before? Now, no doubt, the strongest currency today in this fiat currency in this world is the dollar. No one denies that. But we also know that 40%, listen carefully, 40% of all the dollars that have ever been printed in the history of dollars was printed last year. So if you're buying Bitcoin because you want to get more dollars, then I would say, what's wrong with you, brother? What is wrong with you? Why do you want dollars? It's about changing your mindset. It's not about thinking, oh, Bitcoin's gonna make me rich. Actually, no, Bitcoin's gonna not make you poor. Think of it this way. This is what you need to start thinking. Where can I allocate my capital so that, number one, I can avoid what's going to come, which we all agree is going to come. Number two, you have full control over it. No one can take it from you. No one can steal it from you. You can transact to whoever you want. I can send all of you guys here. I can send you Bitcoin right now. I've done it before. I had a podcast with Freshly Grounded, and I sent him Bitcoin during the podcast. Just like that, I give him Bitcoin. Can you do that with fiat? Can I just send you money like that? About you take you out, and then they'll ask you, oh, where is this coming from, and why is it money to Malaysia or what, Canada, or whatever. All these questions and whatnot.
It's gonna take a few days, bro, to set that up.
So what I'm saying is this: the Shabab, they need to educate themselves as to why they need Bitcoin before they start thinking about how I want to make this money, like that money. Think about this. Educate yourself. Why do you need Bitcoin? And the thing is, if you understand the virtue of Bitcoin, then when the price of Bitcoin in relation to the dollars goes down, your mindset will change. Rather than thinking, oh, I'm losing dollars, you start thinking to yourself, oh, wait, I got a discount. I can get cheap Bitcoin. You see the difference? There's difference. One person sees opportunity, one person sees loss. And that opportunity and that loss comes purely from his ideology. One person sees Bitcoin as just a tradable thing you get in and out and then you dash to the side. Another person sees Bitcoin as a safe haven, as something that's going to be the future, and he wants to get as much as he can of that future. So I mean, at the end of the day, anyone in the Shabab, just go, if they're really that worried, go and look at the price of Bitcoin since 2012. We've not seen anything it hasn't done before. I mean, I've been in the space in 2017. I've seen Bitcoin go down from 20,000 down to 3. This is nothing. This is what's happening now is nothing. That's why us old school guys, we like laugh when it goes down. Like, yeah, this is great. And all the newbies are like, oh my gosh, what's going on, bro? Should I sell? I'm like, sell what? You should be buying, brother. What are you talking about? If you're serious about your future, you should be buying. Not selling. But again, not financial advice. It's entirely up to you. But I that's the way I see it. As for the other question about the altcoins, that's another question. Because no one buys an altcoin for the future. You only buy altcoin just to make money. It has no function. Ethereum, Cardano, Doge. Be honest with you, no one really wants Cardano or Doge. They only want to get the gains that they expect from it. Whereas Bitcoin, there are millions of people who want Bitcoin. They don't care if it's going up, the price goes down, they want Bitcoin because they realize that Bitcoin is the future. That's the major difference between Bitcoin and all those other coins. Remember that one. And what's my proof? Whenever Bitcoin, look what happened now. If other coins meant anything to anyone, they'll be going up, even though Bitcoin's going down. Remember that. Listen carefully. If any coin meant anything to anyone, they will be going up, whilst Bitcoin is still going down. But notice, whenever Bitcoin goes down, everyone goes down. because it actually reveals the secret in the market. And the secret is no one really wants those coins. That's why they're called shit coins. People say that because no one wants those coins. And when things go down, when the market gets really heated and people get scared, they rush to safety. What does that mean? Selling your coins and going back to Bitcoin or even dollars, but they don't really want those other coins. Remember that. So as for the issue of bear market, bull market, those don't know what the brother mentioned. A bear market, it's just a term. The term bull market comes from the way that bulls attack. They attack with their head going this way. They flip you into the sky. So bulls push the price up, whereas bears, they attack with their claws. So they strike you down. So bears push the price down. So if someone expects the market to go down, they're called bears. And someone expects the market to go up, they're called bulls. So if there's more bulls than there are bears, the price goes up. If there are more bears than there are bulls, the price goes down. So a bull market is a market where the bulls are in control. And the bear market is a market where the bears are in control. And they're selling.
So Sheikh, from your certified technical analysis, which would not be financial advice, just quick disclaimer, would you say that there's a bull market coming?
See, again, for those who I'm sure what I've said is probably a lot for anyone who's probably new to this space, but the market moves in cycles of 4 years, and there's a reason for that. Due to what's called the halvening or the Bitcoin halvening. The amount of Bitcoins issued into the market halves every 4 years. When it halves, the supply or the amount of Bitcoins coming into the market is cut, whilst the demand is technically the same. And anyone knows about markets, we have supply and demand. If there's more people wanting, and there's not many supply there available, the price gets bidded up. We're seeing that right now with our goods, and when we go to shopping, things in the shop, much in the supermarkets, are going up because the demand is there, but the supply isn't, or whatever it has to be. Anyway, so every 4 years, the supply is cut, and then because of that, eventually the price of Bitcoin moves up to match the supply and the demand. So you have this more, so Bitcoin goes up, and then it stabilizes, and then next 4 years it goes up more, and it stabilizes, and so on and so forth. And that's why I'm saying to you about the other coins don't matter, because those other coins only do well when Bitcoin does well. If Bitcoin is doing sideways or going down even, they all crap the bed, all of them. Even Ethereum, everyone loves Ethereum. Did you know that Ethereum lost about 85% of its value in Bitcoin value, not even in dollar value, in Bitcoin value during the previous bear market? That means literally if you held on to Bitcoin, so imagine you had one Bitcoin. Yes, the two guys. One guy's got one Bitcoin, another guy's got one Bitcoin's worth of Ethereum. That means that by the end of the bear market, the first guy still got one Bitcoin, but the second guy now has 0.1 Bitcoin. So he's lost 0.9 of his Bitcoin. He's lost because Ethereum is doing also. Ethereum is Ethereum, but compared to Bitcoin, people want Bitcoin. That's just reality. Until the day when another coin starts acting independent of Bitcoin, they're all rubbish. And ethically speaking, I think that's actually one of the things. I think you guys probably heard of someone called Michael Saylor. He's used on his website called hope.com, and he made that basically website about teaching about Bitcoin. And it's very nice sentiment because Bitcoin is literally hope. If you compare a person who likes Bitcoin and a person who likes gold, they're two different mindsets, two different mentalities. A person who likes Bitcoin is optimistic of the future. He wants good for the future. He's looking at a brighter future where the world will be better. If you look at someone who likes gold, they tend to be a person who is very pessimistic. The world's going to be a crash. Everyone's going to die. We're going to return back to swords and bows and arrows again. So it's a very different view. Mindset is very different. Bitcoin is optimism. It's hope that the future is going to be better because it was launched fairly, it's mined fairly, and it's distributed fairly. as opposed to the others. So in terms of the bull market and bear market, is there going to be a bull market? So right now we had the halving in last year, May it was. So now it's been 1 year. Generally speaking, due to the two previous bull markets, these markets usually last about a year and a half. So if history is a measure of anything, which is never usually proof of anything, but if the now doesn't act like it has before, then we've got another 6 to 8 months left in the bull market. So just, you know, I will say to people, if you're interested in your future, stick to DCA. And DCA basically means dollar cost averaging, which basically means set yourself a schedule. I make, for example, I earn £2,000 a month. I spend about 1,500 a month on living. I may spend 250 on gadgets and whatnot. I got 250 left every month. So that 250 that I'm not going to spend on anything special, I'm going to put that aside of my savings into Bitcoin every month. Every month, 250. Every month, 250, regardless. Bitcoin goes up, Bitcoin goes down, 250, 250, 250. If you keep that up for at least 4 to 5 years, inshallah, I guarantee, well, I can't guarantee anything, but if history is anything, you should be better off than you are now. As opposed to saving it in pounds, you're losing about 5 to 10% a year. That's up to you. But but don't try and time the market. Don't try and gamble the market. Don't try and get in here and get in. Just stick to your schedule. The 5th of every month, 250 or 100 or 50 quid, whatever you can afford. That's expend. You don't need to use it for the next 5 years. Just do that. And I can even say, and Allah knows best, if you're in like a country like England or America and you can afford about 250 a month or maybe 300 a month, probably in 5 years time you'll probably be able to buy a house outright in maybe Malaysia or Turkey or anything like that easily. It's not difficult. So yeah, change your perception, change your time preference. Don't chase the quick turnover. There's no such thing as easy money. Money takes time and hard work. So yeah, that's my rant over. I talk too much, I know.
Mashallah.
Yeah.
Mashallah. And where can people find more of you if they want to see some videos?
So yeah, we've got a website called cryptohashreview.com. I haven't updated it recently, so there's a lot of things on there on our YouTube channel I haven't put on the website yet. But yeah, a lot of our videos that are there are on YouTube, or YouTube on there. We have like over 130 videos on crypto and Bitcoin. Not really crypto, but Bitcoin. How it works, how it functions, everything. And more importantly, is on those who are interested about the halal, the haram. We have about 54 videos establishing the halal case for Bitcoin. So if anyone wants to say that Bitcoin is haram, go for those videos and then please refute me. I beg, qasam billah, Allah's my witness, I want someone to come and actually answer the videos I have, because I've challenged in a nice way, not in an arrogant way, just a nice way. I've approached so many people who said it's haram. I said, look, let's discuss this, and they've all refused. I'm waiting for someone to actually just answer the question. The reason I say it is because so many people have been put off by these fatawa that is haram, and they have no one's brought any evidence. And in Islam, as you know, everything is halal until you bring evidence. So where's the evidence? So I want someone to go to my videos and pick everything, find faults, and bring it to me, inshallah, so we can both benefit. I'll have to benefit myself. Benefit I'm misunderstood.
There you go, Fayad.
That's the one.
Brother, at the bottom, you haven't said anything, bro, the whole time. Mr. YouTube guy.
We're learning, bro.
You talking about Fayad?
No, you, Uncle, you.
Bro, I said a lot. What are you talking about? I said a lot in my head, bro.
He's absorbing, bro.
No, but this is good stuff. Like, I have a question. I actually have multiple questions, but
go on, ask one. Just ask one quick one.
Okay. All right. So one question that I have, because you were kind of talking about that Bitcoin, if you try to take out Bitcoin, then it's taxable. They're gonna tax you for it. Now, you said they have the thing where you can move it over, and you have, like, I think it was the debit card or credit card or something like that. where it moves your coins, your crypto into something that you could use. Now, how would someone actually get this money out without being taxed, besides what you mentioned of using it as a financial type thing in El Salvador?
Very, very good question. Very good question. So, and this one, inshallah, I think Shaykh from Romani will hopefully appreciate as well. So basically, what I've often said to people is that I think this is, and I would love for this to manifest in a real way. I think Bitcoin not only is an avenue, an opportunity for us to escape riba, but it's also a big avenue for us to make hijrah. Listen carefully. If you're in Canada or you're in the UK or you're in France and you just wish you could make hijrah, DCA Bitcoin, dollar cost average your Bitcoin, spend at least 4 years saving whatever you can in Bitcoin every month, every 2 weeks, whatever. Buy your Bitcoin. Don't look at the price. Don't follow this and never. Don't chase this scam here and that scam coin there. Just DCA Bitcoin. And then at the end of your fourth to fifth year, I think you should have enough money to just leave the land you are. You can buy in Turkey, you can buy a property for about, if you bought something that was about $250,000, not only you have a property, you have passport. That completes your hijrah in that regards. Or you can just buy a small flat, $80,000. You can buy a flat, it's yours. You won't get citizenship, but you can still live there.
Yeah.
And with the remaining money you have there, you could, in theory, if you manage your funds properly, you could actually live off the rest of your money on Bitcoin for over a decade. I'm sure you're not going to just do that. We're going to do business or not, but I'm saying you could still set up yourself and your family outside your country. And that actually does solve your issue of taxes because you're no longer in your taxable environment. So, for example, if you're in Malaysia, Malaysia doesn't tax crypto. There's no tax on Bitcoin in Malaysia. Again, there's no tax on income from abroad in Malaysia. Or, for example, in Turkey. I mean, if you left your country, you can find avenues to avoid or even reduce your taxes to a larger degree. So what I'd suggest is not to think about how can I get lots of money and buy a nice house in London or what. Forget London, brother. This is your ticket. Your ticket to live ma'al Muslimin with the Muslims. I mean, you could even go to Dubai. Dubai is one of the easiest places to go to, and it's practically tax-free. You can go to Bahrain, open a business in Bahrain, and that's it. You can stay there indefinitely. You can go to Egypt. There's so many places you could go, but if you have a good wad of cash in Bitcoin, I am telling you, all that's left for you to do is book your flights and say ma'a salama. Because no one can stop you from going where you need to go. You have to worry about transferring from one bank account in one country. You literally just go with the money on your phone. That's it. It's gone. So it is literally hijrah money.
Okay, so if I were to go to Malaysia and let's say I had figuratively speaking $50,000 in Bitcoin, I could take out that $50,000 without any taxation.
Yeah. I mean, so are you American or are you Canadian?
I'm in America right now, yeah.
But are you American?
American, yes.
Okay, then you got problems.
All right, bro. That's what I'm trying to ask. Come on now.
The only reason I got problems is because America is the only country in the world that taxes you right wherever you are.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you lived all your life in Australia or Malaysia or UAE, you still get taxed. The only way to avoid that is to renounce your citizenship.
I'm about to renounce it, bro.
But the thing is, I mean, I'm not saying you must do anything, but I'm saying that the only way you can feasibly make such a step is if you have the capital to keep you going wherever you need to go. You can't go to another country as a poor man and say, I'm going to renounce, and you're gonna be stuck. You have to have a plan. But a major, like what the Shaykh began, this whole discussion was that many Muslims, they stigmatize wealth. And what we're trying to say here is that wealth is a ticket to ibadah. How can you worship Allah at least openly? One of the ways to do that is with mal. If you're poor and living in London, if you're poor and living in New York, if you're poor and living in Toronto, you are finished. There's nothing you can do about it. You're stuck. If you have money, you have options. That's why people need to equate money is options. Money is opportunity. Money is irada. It's what you want to do. Money allows you to manifest what you want. I want to leave the United States. How do I leave the United States? Bil mal, with money. With dua, primarily. Not denying that one. I have Allah's help. I'm saying that money is a means to manifest your irada, manifest what you want. So once you have that money, then we can talk about avenues where you could go, how to renounce your citizenship, how to get other citizenships. These things are easy. These things are easy to do, but they're not even on the table without the mal. It's not even an option. You can't even talk about it without the mal.
Facts. Yeah.
So I'm saying that Bitcoin is your hijrah pot. If the shabab out there change their mindset away from making a quick buck, now saying hijrah, I want to enact this ibadah of living ma'al Muslimin. How can I do so? I'm going to use Bitcoin as my avenue. Save up little by little, learn about the space, maybe even make a business on Bitcoin. Maybe online business, online teaching, get paid in Bitcoin. And then when I'm ready, I go. And the thing is, because you've built your business on Bitcoin, that means your business goes wherever you go, because Bitcoin is everywhere. You don't have to change anything. You just continue. Bro, if you're on the plane leaving and you're still earning, khalas. So back to the issue of spending, how do you spend your Bitcoin? Then yeah, if you wanted to go with the full whack and live on Bitcoin, then you will have to pay taxes while you're spending it. But the thing is, if you're on spending living expenses, you're not going to be making lots of money. I mean, you only pay taxes on the profit you make. So if you're spending about 20,000, 30,000 a year on living expenses, how much of that money you're spending on living expenses is actually profit? Maybe a third. Let's say a third of that. That's £10,000 profit. So in my country, in London, you have a threshold of about £12,000 of non-taxable profit. If you make profit less than that, non-taxable. So if that's your threshold, then even if you're spending your Bitcoin and you're making profit, it's not taxable because it's not above that threshold. You have to spend an obscene amount of money to make that kind of profit. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it's not a big deal.
Pounds.
Yeah, so it's not a big deal if you're living within your means. You're living with zuhud. You're doing zuhud. For the 4 to 5 years of your preparing to make hijrah, you live in a zahid life. You're not getting a lavish iPhone every year. You're not buying a new Tesla every month. You're just living a normal life of a sabir, having sabr. You put your money you can, trying to build your business, build your future. And when you're ready to launch, brother, you launch. Like this one. Here, you launch, brother. Like this thing here.
Bitcoin to the moon.
Is that Come Rocket?
No, that's not Come Rocket.
It's Come Rocket.
No, that's not Come Rocket, bro.
No, brother.
You know that coin, bro?
Yeah, I heard about what's it called? Elon. He pumped that one, didn't he? So that's I think what the Shabab need to be focusing on. Building their future with a real established business model, saving their money correctly, and don't worry about these momentary movements on Bitcoin up and down. Bro, you'd be surprised. I'm telling you, by September time, you'll be like, oh, brother, I remember this a couple months ago, Bitcoin was 30,000, now it's at blah, blah, blah. Trust me, Bitcoin moves, and you don't even expect it.
MashaAllah. All right.
Cool, guys?
Fayad. Very cool, man. Alhamdulillah. Fayad, I think we're good for today.
That's a good intro. We if you guys made it this far, comment down below. #bring Shaykh back, because we definitely need him back for part 2. We'll go a little bit more into finance, into cryptos. Jazakallah khair for your time. If there's nothing else, we'll end it off then. All right, guys. Until next time, thank you all for tuning in. May Allah bless you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
First and foremost, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that basically when a group of companions came to him and asked, we're dealing with these horrible doubts, these doubts that if we believe them, they would lead to kufr, horrible doubts. And the Prophet ﷺ, he looked at him, he said that this is good news. This is good news. And obviously it sounds oxymoronic. How is, big doubts in faith good news? And the Prophet ﷺ, he said it's a sign of high iman. And think about it. If you have catastrophic, life-changing doubts about your religion, it can't be anything other than a sign that you have high faith, because you don't wake up in the morning and become worried that unicorns don't exist because you never believed in unicorns in the first place. So the fact that these doubts are worrying you is a sign that you have high iman, that you actually believe in Islam.